So the Green Bay Packers re-signed Kevin King to a 1-year, $6 million deal, and everyone's freaking out saying, oh my god, how could they do this? Kevin King, he's basically the worst player in NFL history. Really, he's not that bad. He's a fine number 2 corner. The reality is that he's basically getting judged very harshly off of mostly one bad game. Not entirely, but mostly. And while that one game was certainly not very good, that was the conference championship game against Tampa Bay, where he gave up a passer rating of 140. Let's not forget his career passer rating is still under 100. And actually, for 2019 and 18, his passer rating was 86.6 and 84.1, respectively. So 2018, he didn't play much, but still. Let's get into the film study, talk about why people are negative towards this signing and just him as a player, and then talk about what he does well and maybe why I think some of the criticisms are not unfair, just overblown. So we'll first start off with this one. This is man coverage, and King is going up one-on-one against Mike Evans. And I don't think it's a coincidence that you typically see when he has to go up against really good receivers, he struggles. He's not Jair Alexander. He is a number 2 corner, and when he plays a team like Tampa Bay who has multiple number 1 receivers, that's where he can struggle. So watch, once this play starts, you notice that King's kind of trying to create contact against Evans, which is just a mistake, quite frankly. I mean, Mike Evans, one of the biggest and strongest receivers in the league. He's someone who you don't try and overpower, you don't really try to disrupt too much, you just make sure you cover him, because he's bigger and stronger than you. And watch, Evans is able to use that contact, because let's be honest, if a defender sort of embraces the contact right there, the refs just aren't going to call a penalty, and that wasn't a penalty anyways. So now King is in a bit of a pickle, right? He's a little bit far behind, but not too far behind. And if King, he is looking up towards the ball, if he can sort of time his jump right and make the play, he could knock this one away. But as you see, he jumps too early and misses the ball. Mike Evans is able to make the grab. Again, good throw from Brady, sure. Good play by Evans, absolutely. But sometimes when you want to be a number 2 corner that's going to help your team win a Super Bowl, you have to be able to beat some of the better players. In the playoffs, you're going to end up going up against a team that has multiple good receivers, and you're going to have to hold your own against one of them. I want to show this play now, actually, which is, not from that game. I'm going to get back to that game in a second, largely just because it was actually very similar to the other play that I just showed. I've circled King in yellow, and the route you see on the screen, Miller's route, that's the one that is going to actually be what King is covering, since this isn't man. So watch what happened. Kind of a similar idea a little bit, where King is going to look up, and he jumps, and he almost gets the interception. Ends up dropping it, but I wanted to show that because that's kind of the mindset King had, I think, was he felt like he could look over, leap up, and make the play. The issue is just that, with all due respect to Mitchell Trubisky, I think he's slightly worse than Tom Brady. So, and that wasn't really, that was going to be a tough throw anyways, but Brady's not going to miss any throw. He's going to put it in the exact perfect spot, and he had more room to work with, and he was throwing to a taller receiver. So it was just a much more difficult situation is kind of my point, and I wanted to put those plays next to each other just so you can see, okay, Anthony Miller and Mitchell Trubisky, King can do well there. Tom Brady and Mike Evans, maybe not so much. Now let's talk about this one, because of course this was the big one. This was the dagger at the half. You have Scotty Miller, who's going to be running a deep route, going up against Kevin King. And, I just talked about, well, Kevin King does well against lesser receivers, but at the same time, there's not too many better receivers at just running go routes than Scotty Miller, because he's fast. I mean, Kevin King's not a slow corner. He runs a 4.4, but Scotty Miller runs a 4.3, so he's just a little bit faster. And again, part of this is going to be mental. Watch how right when this play starts, you notice that King, he's just in an awkward situation where he thought that Miller was going to end up running closer to the middle of the field, and so King was expecting to be able to keep his hips turned towards the outside. And at this point, I really think he would have been way better off just turning the hips and continuing to run deep. Obviously, it's a weird situation, though. He just in an awkward spot. This is positioning more than anything, because if King just wants to turn his other shoulder and continue running deep, take away the deep route, well, there still was 8 seconds left when this play started, so Brady could throw it to Miller if he cut, and they could get out of bounds at the 20-yard line, kick a field goal, and get a free 3-point. And watch Miller be able to run by King, because King had to wait way too long to turn that shoulder, and it's a touchdown, and that's just a positioning thing. So I do feel like part of this is mental when it comes to Kevin King. Part of it is just, hey, Scotty Miller's faster than you. He's faster than most players. It is what it is. But it does kind of feel like there are some small things that he could fix that could make him a better player. Okay, now I want to show some plays from other games because, I mean, let's just be honest. That wasn't great. I'm not going to sit here and pretend it was. It wasn't a great game. He had his issues, and he made some mistakes. But I don't think he's a complete garbage corner. I think there are things he does well. Specifically, when he doesn't have to worry about going deep down the field. Kind of when he can run back in, I think he's pretty good. And I actually think he could be a really good cover 3 zone corner, which isn't, that'd be kind of a waste because you don't want to force Jair Alexander to just be a zone corner. But if he was ever in that situation, it could work out, and it still has effects when he's playing man. On this play, it's going to be Allen Robinson is sort of running the route over the middle, and yeah, Allen Robinson, that's who Kevin King is going up against. So this is a marquee matchup on one side at least. I mean, Robinson, he's a top 10 wide receiver in the league. Right when this play starts, it's not Allen Robinson's best route, doesn't get too open. Like, it is what it is. Not everything's going to be something that gets you wide open, but this can get you a few yards, and Trubisky is going to make this throw just to gain a couple yards. But this is what I mean when I say Kevin King can be like a good zone corner, and it also works in man. So, when the Packers play zone, he tends to do pretty well, but in man, he can do stuff like this. He steps in front and knocks the ball down. So little things like that are what he is capable of doing. He does have good ball skills. That's something that he does absolutely bring to the table. Don't forget, yes, I know, no interceptions last year, but the year before he had 5 in one season. So, and not to mention 11 pass breakups. So he is capable of knocking the ball away and, stopping plays from being complete like that. His career reception percentage against is just 62%, although he did give up 70% last year. So again, last year wasn't a great year, but I don't know how fair it is to completely just write him off as a player because he did have an inconsistent year is what I would say, with a really bad finish in the conference championship game. One more play is this one. This one's a lot better, I think. Again, it's going to be Allen Robinson going up one-on-one against King. Similar concept, man coverage. This time it's going to be a slant route. Watch what happens. So right when this play starts, you notice that, there's separation here. So this is a good route by Robinson. He cuts very early. This is absolutely something that can work out and can get you some yards. But again, you just see King rushes back in and knocks the ball away. He can do stuff like that. So he's not a horrible corner at all. He's not a awful number 2 corner. You could do better, but you could do a lot worse as well, and that's kind of my point. Is I think, in the words of the great Aaron Rodgers, RELAX, obviously I think, getting like a Kyle Fuller would have been better, but let's be honest, I think Fuller wanted to go back and play for Denver, so, with Vic Fangio, so there might have been other options, William Jackson, but they also just didn't have a ton of money and kind of had to work with what they had. It's honestly a fair contract, in my opinion, and the Packers are still Super Bowl contenders next year, which that's the goal. It's, again, could have been better, but could have been a lot worse too. That's what I think. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.